Professional services. Thursday evening and I'm driving the Cybertruck downtown to meet Alexandra at her penthouse on the Upper West Side. Alexandra isn't her real name, but that's what she calls herself when she charges $3,000 for 2 hours of what she describes as intimate companionship for discerning gentlemen. Her real name is probably something like Jennifer or Michelle, and she's probably from Ohio or Pennsylvania, but she's reinvented herself as this sophisticated European courtesan who specializes in clients from the financial services industry. I found her through a referral from Marcus Wellington, who mentioned her during a private equity dinner at Daniel last month. She's very discreet, he said while cutting into his $40 Wagyu. Understands the importance of confidentiality for people in our position. What he meant is that she signs non-disclosure agreements and accepts Bitcoin payments to avoid creating paper trails that might complicate divorce proceedings or SEC investigations. The building is one of those pre-war cooperatives on Central Park West where old money families live alongside crypto billionaires and entertainment industry executives. Doorman in white gloves who doesn't ask questions when well-dressed men arrive for appointments that aren't listed in any official visitor log. Elevator operator who's seen everything but says nothing because his silence is worth more than most people's annual salaries. Alexandra's apartment is on the 14th floor with views of Central Park that probably cost $8 million when she bought the place 5 years ago. The interior design screams expensive taste without being ostentatious. Persian rugs and antique furniture mixed with contemporary art from galleries in Chelsea and Soho. Everything carefully curated to suggest sophistication and discretion rather than obvious wealth. She answers the door wearing a black silk dress that costs more than most people spend on rent. Blonde hair that's definitely not natural but professionally maintained by colorists who charge $500 per session. Plastic surgery that's subtle enough to enhance rather than distort her natural features. She's probably 35 but looks 28 thanks to Botox and laser treatments and whatever other procedures rich women get to maintain their marketability. Preston, she says, kissing me on both cheeks like we're old friends instead of having a commercial transaction. You look wonderful. Come in. The living room has champagne chilling in a silver bucket and classical music playing at just the right volume to create ambience without interfering with conversation. She's created this elaborate theatrical production designed to make clients feel like they're having a romantic encounter rather than purchasing sexual services from someone who treats intimacy like a business commodity. How was your day? She asks, pouring Dom Perignon into crystal flutes that probably cost more than most people's monthly car payments. My day was fucking fantastic. I executed a short position on Ethereum that netted me $400,000 when the market dropped 3% after some regulatory announcement from the Treasury Department. I manipulated 2 different derivative contracts in ways that will generate significant profits over the next 30 days while simultaneously destroying the retirement accounts of several thousand retail investors who were stupid enough to trust their financial futures to automated trading algorithms. Productive, I tell her. Made some good decisions that should pay off significantly. I'm so glad to hear that, she says, sitting next to me on the leather sofa that probably came from some Italian furniture designer whose name I should recognize but don't because I don't waste mental energy memorizing information that doesn't directly impact my net worth. Alexandra is very good at her job, which involves making men feel important and attractive while they pay her obscene amounts of money for sex that they could get for free if they had adequate social skills and emotional intelligence. She asks about my work and my interests and my goals like she genuinely cares about my responses instead of just following a script designed to maximize client satisfaction and encourage repeat business. Tell me about your latest investments, she says, placing her hand on my thigh in a gesture that's calculated to seem spontaneous and affectionate. I find the financial markets so fascinating. She finds them fascinating because understanding her clients' professional interests is part of providing premium customer service. She probably has similar conversations with tech entrepreneurs and real estate developers and pharmaceutical executives, adapting her performance to whatever industry generates the most revenue for her particular skill set. I explain some of my recent crypto trades while she listens with the kind of focused attention that most people reserve for conversations that might actually impact their lives. She asks intelligent questions that demonstrate she's done research on financial markets and cryptocurrency technology. She probably spends hours reading industry publications and following market news so she can engage meaningfully with clients who want to feel intellectually appreciated as well as sexually desired. "That's so impressive," she says when I finish describing a particularly complex arbitrage strategy that exploited regulatory differences between European and American crypto exchanges. "You must have such confidence in your analytical abilities to make decisions involving those amounts of money." Confidence isn't the right word. I have mathematical certainty based on superior information and analytical capabilities that allow me to predict market movements with statistical precision. What other people call confidence is actually just competence applied to domains where incompetent people lose money to competent people through perfectly legal mechanisms of wealth transfer. "It's just pattern recognition," I tell her. "Once you understand the underlying variables, the outcomes become fairly predictable." I imagine it takes tremendous discipline to stick to your strategies when there's so much money at stake, she says, moving closer to me on the sofa so I can smell her perfume, which is probably something expensive and French that's designed to trigger neurochemical responses associated with sexual attraction and emotional bonding. Discipline is for people who need to overcome their natural impulses to achieve their goals. I don't require discipline because my natural impulses are already aligned with optimal outcomes. I want to make money and destroy other people's financial security because those activities generate both material rewards and psychological satisfaction. There's no internal conflict that requires disciplinary mechanisms to resolve. The key is understanding that emotions interfere with rational decision-making, I say. Most people let fear and greed cloud their judgment. They make decisions based on how they feel rather than what the data actually indicates. "And you never let emotions influence your trading decisions?" she asks, finishing her champagne and setting the empty flute on the coffee table made from some kind of exotic wood that was probably harvested from endangered rainforests by workers who earned less in a year than I spend on lunch. "I let emotions influence my decisions all the time. I choose trades that will cause maximum psychological damage to people I dislike. I structure transactions to destroy the financial futures of individuals who have annoyed me or inconvenienced me in some trivial way. I use my market position to punish people for existing in ways that I find aesthetically or intellectually offensive. But these aren't the kinds of emotions that interfere with profitability. They're emotions that enhance my performance by providing additional motivation beyond simple monetary gain. The satisfaction of knowing that my success requires other people's failure makes every profitable trade feel like a small victory in a larger war against human mediocrity." "Emotions are just information," I tell her. "The trick is processing that information rationally rather than letting it control your behavior." Alexandra nods like this is profound wisdom instead of basic psychological manipulation disguised as investment philosophy. She probably repeats similar conversations with all her clients, adapting her responses to whatever intellectual pretensions they need validated during their expensive sexual encounters. "Should we move to the bedroom?" she asks, standing up and extending her hand like we're dance partners instead of participants in a commercial transaction that could result in criminal charges if either of us were stupid enough to leave evidence of what's actually happening here. The bedroom is exactly what you'd expect from someone who's turned sexual performance into a luxury lifestyle business. King-size bed with Egyptian cotton sheets that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Mood lighting that's designed to be flattering without being obvious. Mirrors positioned to provide optimal viewing angles during various sexual activities. Alexandra excuses herself to the bathroom where she probably checks her phone for messages from other clients and applies whatever cosmetic preparations are necessary to maintain her professional appearance during physical activities that might otherwise disturb her carefully constructed aesthetic presentation. I sit on the edge of the bed and think about how perfectly this arrangement suits my psychological needs and lifestyle requirements. No emotional complications or relationship maintenance. No pretense of romantic attachment or future commitment. Just commercial sexual services provided by someone who understands that her job is customer satisfaction rather than personal fulfillment. She returns wearing some black web of La Perla lace that barely covers anything, engineered to frame her content tits, a product designed for a specific market, and I am that market. Everything about her has been optimized: the subtle Botox, the perfectly maintained blonde hair, the firm, round tits that cost at least 20 grand, to create the illusion of natural perfection for men who can afford to not care if it's real. "Come here," she says, her voice a low, practiced murmur. I don't moves. I make her walk to me, my mind a cool, running ledger of the transaction. This is the best part. The clarity. No emotional subtext, no hidden clauses. Just a service contract, pure and simple, and the service is about to begin. Her hands are on my shirt, her fingers cool and efficient. I watch her face in the antique mirror on the wall, a perfect mask of focused desire. It's a brilliant performance. I grab her wrist, hard, and pull her hand down to my cock, already straining against the fabric of my pants. She doesn't flinch. She simply closes her hand around it, her technique flawless. We move to the bed, the 1200 thread count Egyptian cotton sheets cool against my back. She moves over me, her body a collection of smooth, toned, surgically enhanced planes and curves. Her mouth finds mine and the kiss is deep, wet, and expertly executed. It tastes of Dom Perignon and manufactured passion, and I push my tongue past hers, exploring the slick interior of her mouth. I flip her onto her stomach without a word, my hands gripping the sharp, jetting bones of her hips, pulling her ass up toward me. The position is dominant, impersonal. I can see her face in the mirrored ceiling panel she had installed for this exact purpose. Her eyes are closed, her mouth slightly open, breathing in shallow, rhythmic pants. The sounds of pleasure, delivered on cue. I spread her ass cheeks apart with my thumbs. Her asshole is a tight, pink, puckered knot. Below it, her cunt is already glistening, wet, the lips swollen and pink. I dip 2 fingers inside her, feeling the slick, tight channel. She moans, a perfect, practiced sound, and pushes back against my hand. I pull my fingers out, slick with her juices, and sniff them. The smell is clean, musky. I enter her from behind, my cock sliding into the wet heat of her cunt. Her body is tight, welcoming. She arches her back, a perfect, calculated curve. My rhythm is hard, steady, a piston. The sound is wet, a rhythmic slapping. The sounds she makes become louder, a series of soft, guttural moans that are perfectly timed to my movements. I reach around and find her clit with my thumb, rubbing it in a hard, fast circle. Her moans become more urgent, less controlled. Her whole body tenses. I feel the pressure building. I pull out just before I come, my hand moving to her throat, with a firm, controlling grip that makes her eyes snap open in the mirror. I see a flicker of something real: surprise, fear, before the professional mask slides back into place. She understands this is part of the service, an add-on to the standard package. I finish on the small of her back, a hot, thick stream of cum, and watch it run down into the crack of her ass. I roll off her onto the cool sheets. For a moment, there is silence, the only sound the faint hum of the building's HVAC system and the distant, muted siren of a passing emergency vehicle. Alexandra doesn't move for a few seconds, then she pushes herself up, her movements fluid. She reaches for a silk robe at the foot of the bed, her back to me, the cum still glistening on her skin. The intimacy, artificial as it was, has evaporated from the room as quickly as it was created. We are back to being 2 professionals who have just concluded a piece of business. Afterward, we lie in bed while she plays with my hair and asks about my plans for the weekend like we're lovers instead of business partners in a transaction that will be documented in her financial records as consulting services, or personal training, or whatever euphemism she uses to avoid tax complications and legal scrutiny. "Are you seeing anyone seriously?" she asks, which is either genuine curiosity or professional information gathering designed to assess whether I might become a regular client who requires emotional management in addition to sexual services. I'm in a relationship, I tell her. But it's not exclusive. This is technically true since I've never explicitly promised Tiffany sexual fidelity and she's never asked for that commitment because she understands that men in my economic bracket have access to sexual opportunities that aren't available to regular people, and expecting monogamy would be unrealistic given the power dynamics of our relationship. She's very lucky, Alexandra says, which is exactly the kind of thing she's paid to say to men who need validation about their desirability and relationship management skills. Lucky isn't the right word. Tiffany is useful because she provides social companionship and sexual availability while requiring minimal emotional investment and financial maintenance compared to what a more sophisticated woman would demand. She serves specific functions in my life and I maintain her properly to ensure optimal performance, just like any other valuable asset. We have compatible goals and lifestyle preferences, I say, which is close enough to the truth to avoid complications while revealing nothing about the actual psychological dynamics of our arrangement. Alexandra probably has similar conversations with married clients who need to rationalize their infidelity as something other than simple sexual variety-seeking behavior that conflicts with their stated commitment to monogamous relationships. She's learned to provide whatever emotional framework allows her clients to feel good about purchasing sexual services while maintaining their self-image as decent and faithful partners. I get dressed while she watches from the bed, still wearing the black lingerie that will probably go into the laundry basket along with the Egyptian cotton sheets that have absorbed the biological evidence of our commercial transaction. Everything will be cleaned and sanitized and prepared for the next client who will receive the same professional sexual services while believing he's experiencing something unique and special. When can I see you again? She asks, which is standard client retention protocol disguised as personal interest in continuing our relationship beyond its current commercial parameters. I'll text you next week, I tell her, knowing that I probably will because Alexandra provides reliable sexual satisfaction without the emotional complications and social obligations that come with romantic relationships or casual hookups with women who aren't professionals. She walks me to the door wearing a silk robe that costs more than most people spend on their entire wardrobe. Kisses me goodbye like we've just concluded a romantic evening instead of a business transaction that could be replicated with any other woman who has similar physical attributes and professional training. The elevator ride down to the lobby gives me time to think about how much I prefer commercial relationships to the elaborate deceptions required by conventional social interactions. With Alexandra, everything is transparent and transactional. She provides specific services in exchange for predetermined compensation. No hidden agendas or emotional manipulation or unrealistic expectations about future commitment. The doorman nods politely as I exit the building, probably recognizing me as one of Alexandra's regular clients but maintaining the professional discretion that's essential for his continued employment in a building where privacy is worth more than most people's annual salaries. Driving home through Manhattan traffic, I think about how perfectly tonight's encounter represents the kind of honest relationship that should exist between all people instead of the romantic mythology that convinces average individuals that love is something more meaningful than biological programming combined with social conditioning and economic incentives. Alexandra and I both got exactly what we wanted from our interaction. Sexual satisfaction for me, financial compensation for her. No false promises or unrealistic expectations or emotional complications that might interfere with optimal outcomes for both parties. Just efficient resource allocation based on clearly defined needs and capabilities. This is how all human relationships should function. Commercial transactions between individuals who understand their own value and can negotiate appropriate compensation for whatever services they're willing to provide. No pretense of altruism or emotional connection that interferes with rational decision-making and efficient resource distribution. But most people are too stupid or dishonest to acknowledge that all relationships are fundamentally transactional. They prefer romantic delusions and social fictions that allow them to feel good about their basic biological and economic motivations instead of accepting the mathematical reality of human interaction. Which is why people like me will always have advantages over people like everyone else. We understand what's actually happening while they waste energy maintaining elaborate self-deceptions that prevent them from optimizing their outcomes through systematic analysis and strategic planning. The Cybertruck's navigation system calculates that I'll be home in 14 minutes, which gives me enough time to plan tomorrow's trading strategy while the physical satisfaction from tonight's encounter gradually fades and gets replaced by the anticipation of financial opportunities that will generate more lasting forms of pleasure than anything involving human contact or emotional connection. Because ultimately, money is more reliable than people, and power is more satisfying than love, and success is more meaningful than any relationship could ever be.